This video will be about the history of the Maghreb in the 16th century. First, we will summarize the state of the Maghreb in the beginning of the century. Tunisia had just had a golden age under the Hafsid Sultan, Othman, who had briefly ruled the entire Maghreb by making the Wattasid and the Zayyanid dynasties his vassals. However, after his death, Tunisia began to weaken. Algeria had already been quite weak with an old dying empire. However, they did have two Qabyle kingdoms that began to emerge. As for Morocco, it wasn't united under a single kingdom. Northern Morocco was ruled by the Wattasids and the south was ruled by the Saadi, who were vassals to the Wattasids. Spain and Portugal had begun conquering coastal cities and had the desire of conquering the Maghreb. They possessed numerous enclaves in the Maghreb, for example, in Morocco, Ceuta, Tangier, Agadir, Casablanca, El Jadida, Melilla, Mers el-Kebir, Oran, Algiers, Bajaya, and even Tripoli. The fact that the Maghreb was weak and that they were Muslims being preyed on by Christian empires brought the attention of a newly expanding empire. The Ottoman Empire, which had just become the most powerful empire in the entire world, feared by all, had just expanded by more than double the size in a shockingly short period of time. This was under the Sultan known as Selim the Grim, who had just defeated the Safavids and destroyed the Mamluks, resulting in a rapid and major expansion. The Barbarossa brothers were notorious for their activity in the seas. They would raid, pillage and terrorize coasts. They were a big problem from Charles V and many other rulers as a result of their activity as corsairs. They raided countless towns in Sicily, captured English and Spanish ships, repulsed Spanish attacks on Algiers and made their base of operations in Cherkil in Algeria. They raided Ceuta in Morocco before capturing Gigel in Algeria and later captured Mahdia in Tunisia. They raided, sacked and pillaged so many places that this video would go on for hours if I had to explain all of their activity. In 1516, the Barbarossa brothers captured Algiers from Spain. The Spanish forces attempted to take back Algiers but failed miserably. Ourashriz, with only 1,500 men, defeated more than 20,000 combined forces from the Spanish and the Hafsids and solidified his status in Algiers, expanding and capturing more cities shortly after. Barbarossa then offered Algiers to the Ottoman Sultan, Selim the Grim, who accepted this offer and appointed Ourash as the Bey of the province of Algiers. Thus the Regency of Algiers had been established. In 1517, Ourash managed to capture Tlemcen. However, a year later the Spanish took the city from him, a battle in which he died. This led to his brother, Hayreddin Barbarossa, becoming the Pasha of Algiers. Barbarossa encountered resistance from a local Qabyle king of Kuku, Sidi Ahmed, who allied with the Hafsids and defeated Barbarossa in the Battle of Isser. Shortly after, the king of Kuku even conquered Algiers from Barbarossa and reigned there for several years before it was recaptured. Barbarossa would raid, pillage and capture countless places, such as capturing the Balearics and several islands off the Italian coast. He burnt down a town in Italy and enslaved almost all of the population. His reputation was crazy. He was known and feared everywhere and is recognized as one of the greatest admirals in history, whose history is as rich and equivalent to an entire country's. In 1534, Barbarossa conquered Tunis. However, he abandoned Tunis a year later when he learnt of the expedition of Charles V, who then conquered Tunisia and placed the Hafsid ruler on the throne as his vassal. Barbarossa later retired and was succeeded by another pasha. In 1541, Charles V attempted to take Algiers. However, he was completely destroyed. With only 5,000 men, the Pasha of Algiers inflicted a serious defeat on more than 30,000 soldiers who were extremely well equipped. Meanwhile, in Morocco, the Wattasids were facing aggression from their former vassals, the Saadis. The Saadis were descendants of the Prophet and were eager to gain control over all of Morocco and eventually the Maghreb. In 1545, Ali Abu Hassan succeeded the previous Wattasid sovereign after he had been captured by the Saadis. Ali Abu Hassan ruled over northern Morocco, which included Fez and the surrounding regions, while the Saadis ruled the south, which included the Su area. In 1545, hoping to gain military assistance against his Saadi rivals, Ali Abu Hassan submitted to the Ottoman Sultan, recognized his authority and declared himself as a vassal of the Ottomans. After Charles V's failed expedition, the Hafsids of Tunis and the Zayyanids of Tlemcen became independent, meaning that in the Maghreb, the Ottomans only ruled most of Algeria and northern Morocco through their vassals. The Ottoman Sultan, Suleiman the Magnificent, told the Saadi Sultan, Muhammad Sheikh, to do the same as the Wattasids. However, he denied this as he was a descendant of the Prophet and annoyed by the Turks who he saw as the real threat, while seeing the Spanish and Portuguese as a joke. After 4 or 5 years of Ottoman rule through vassal status of the Wattasids in northern Morocco, they still did not receive any military support from the Turks, and the Saudis expelled the Wattasids in 1549 and united all of Morocco under their rule. Northern Morocco was no longer a vassal of the Ottomans, and the Saudis set their sights on annexing Tlemcen, which at the time was either independent or under Spanish suzerainty. However, it is certain that the Ottomans did not yet possess Tlemcen since the days of Barbarossa. Meanwhile, in Algeria, the Bey of Algiers, Hassan Pasha, sent 2 separate armies to annex the Kabyle kingdom of Beni Abbas in 1550. However, the Kabyle Sultan, Abdelaziz, defeated both of these armies. Hassan Pasha then concluded a peace treaty with the Kabyle king, and together, the Kabyle kingdom of Beni Abbas and the Regency of Algiers, commanded by Abdelaziz and Hassan Pasha, with an army of 20,000 men, marched against the large Saadi forces of 40,000 men, commanded by Mohammed Sheikh and his son Abdulkader. The Saadis were severely defeated, and the Saadi expedition to annex Tlemcen was a failure. It even resulted in the death of the Saadi prince, Abdulkader, whose head was cut off and taken as a prize by the Bey of Algiers. In 1552, Salih Reis became the Pasha of Algiers and allied with the Kabyle Sultan Abdelaziz in a successful expedition to control Touggourt in the south. However, after this, Salih Reis sent Kabyle soldiers to assassinate Sultan Abdelaziz, but they refused to do so, and together with Abdelaziz the Kabyles defeated the Janissaries. Salih Reis was able to gain a minor victory against the kingdom of Beni Abbas, however the snow prevented them from exploiting it. In 1553, Salih Reis ordered an expedition against Abdelaziz to get rid of him and his influence. However, the Kabyle kingdom severely defeated the Regency of Algiers and inflicted high casualties. The Kabyles maintained their independence and tarnished the reputation of Salih Reis. Abdelaziz was able to defeat another expedition against him shortly after. After his defeat by the Kabyles, Salih Reis was given an objective to place the Wattasid Sultan, Ali Abu Hassan, in his previous position, as the ruler of northern Morocco and a vassal of the Ottomans. At the end of 1553, Salih Reis allied with the Kabyle kingdom of Kuku, and marched against the Saadis with only 11,000 men, almost half of which were Kabyles. The Saadi Sultan, Mohammed Sheikh, gathered 40,000 men and prepared for the attack. Salih Reis utilized his artillery and defeated the Saadis, forcing them to retreat to the south. Salih Reis conquered northern Morocco and placed Ali Abu Hassan as the ruler and vassal of the Ottomans. The Kabyles and Turks stayed in Fez and were commuting terrible acts on the Moroccan citizens. This caused the Wattasid Sultan to pay a large sum of money for the withdrawal of the Turks after 4 months. However, the Wattasid Sultan now had to organize his own army in case of a Saadi offensive. After 9 months of Ottoman suzerainty in northern Morocco, Mohammed Sheikh, the Saadi king, defeated the Wattasids and regained control of Morocco. The Turks were unable to intervene. The Saadi Sultan, Mohammed Sheikh, made an alliance with the Spanish and wanted to kick the Turks out of the Maghreb and rule it himself. He planned an attack on Algiers with the Spanish, but after Salih Reis captured Bajaya in 1555, they cancelled their plans for Algiers. The Regency of Algiers were attacking Oran, so Mohammed Sheikh took advantage of this and attempted to annex Tlemcen. He occupied the city in 1557 but was unable to successfully conquer it. Hassan Pasha, who was again made the Bey of Algiers, defeated the Saadis and chased them out of Tlemcen. He sent an assassin, named Sahil, to take the life of Mohammed Sheikh. Even though all of his battles against the Turks had been lost, Mohammed Sheikh was resistible and hard-headed. He wasn't one to quit, especially without driving out the Turks from the Maghreb. Sahil posed as a deserter and joined the Saadis. He sneaked into a tent and saw Mohammed Sheikh. Sahil then brought out his axe and decapitated the Saadi king. He then took the king's head and returned to Algiers. They sent the head of the king to Istanbul, where Suleiman the Magnificent displayed the head on a fortification. In an attempt to take advantage of the assassination of the Saadi Sultan, Hassan Pasha occupied Fez in the Battle of Wadi al-Laban in 1558, however, he failed to conquer it. During the battle, the Spaniards took advantage and prepared an attack on the regency. After hearing this news, Hassan Pasha abandoned the battlefield and withdrew to the rocky island of Penin de Vélez, where he sailed to Algiers. Hassan Pasha feared the Spaniards would cut off his line of communications and faced the Spanish in the Algiers Expedition. The Saadi Sultan supported the Spaniards and agreed to take part, however, he did not come through on his agreement. Hassan Pasha severely defeated the Spaniards and killed the governor of Oran, Count al-Qaudi. The regency killed thousands and took more than 6,000 prisoners. The son of Count al-Qaudi, Don Martin de Cordoba, who was meant to succeed him in governing Oran, was enslaved by the regency of Algiers and ransomed 23,000 escudos. The Spaniards and Saadis accepted the Ottoman presence in the Maghreb and no longer allied against them. The regency of Algiers then attempted to conquer the kingdom of Beni Abbas in 1559. The kingdom of Kuku was an independent Kabyle kingdom like the Beni Abbas, but they were allied with the regency of Algiers and participated in this battle against Abdelaziz. On the second day of fighting, the Sultan Abdelaziz was killed and his brother Ahmad succeeded him as the Sultan and continued the fight. After 8 days the regency weren't making any more progress and were losing more soldiers by the day. Therefore Hassan Pasha withdrew and returned to Algiers with the head of Abdelaziz as a prize. However, the kingdom of Beni Abbas remained independent. After this battle, the conflicts between the regency of Algiers and their neighbors died down, which gave some breathing room to their neighbors. Ahmad made preparation to expand south. Meanwhile, the exiled Saadi princes, Abdel Malik and Ahmad al-Mansur, were living in the Ottoman Empire where they received their education. The Saadi prince Abdel Malik expressed his desire to become the king of the Saadi Dynasty. However, the Ottoman Sultan, Murad III, did not listen until Abdel Malik had proved himself in Tunis in 1574. In 1574 the Ottomans launched the conquest of Tunis against the Spanish Empire. The famous Ottoman admirals Ulush Ali Reis and Yusuf Sinan Pasha commanded this attack. Both of them were Italians who were captured by the Ottomans. Ulush Ali was an Italian who was captured and made a galley slave by the Turks. He took part as an oar slave in the Battle of Preveza and by 1541 he became a corsair and converted to Islam. They were able to conquer Tunis and establish it as an Ottoman vassal. After this success, Abdel Malik and his family petitioned Murad III for assistance. Abdel Malik made a deal with Murad. In exchange for support he would make Morocco a vassal of the Ottomans. Murad then ordered the Bey of Algiers, Ramazan Pasha, to invade Morocco and install Abdel Malik on the throne as an Ottoman vassal. Ramazan Pasha left with Abdel Malik and around 8,000 or 9,000 soldiers and arrived in Fez where they encountered the Saadi Sultan, Muhammad al-Mutawakkil. The Ottoman forces easily conquered Fez and the Saadi Sultan escaped to Marrakesh. However, Marrakesh was conquered shortly after. The Ottoman forces had completed their conquest and Abdel Malik was installed as the ruler of Morocco and a vassal of the Ottomans. Abdel Malik paid off the Janissaries and sent them back to Algiers, suggesting that he had a looser concept of vassalage than Murad may have thought. Abdel Malik recognized the suzerainty of Murad and had his name stamped on coinage and recited in the Kupa, marking the signs of suzerainty. He was the first Saadi ruler to break the tradition that Muhammad ash-Sheikh had set, which was to never enter any bond of vassal status with any foreign power. However, Abdel Malik did so to gain power and he recognized himself as the vassal of the Sublime Porte, which was the Ottoman central government. His letters also gave him the description as the slave of the Great Turk. Meanwhile, Ahmad the Kabyle king of Beni Abbas had successfully expanded southward, gaining control over new territories. During this period, the Kabyle kingdoms were the only independent kingdoms in all of North Africa, while the Ottomans ruled the entirety of North Africa except for the Kabyles. The deposed Saadi Sultan, Muhammad al-Mutawakkil, made a similar deal with Portuguese that Abdel Malik made with Murad. The Portuguese thought that they could pull a similar move as the Ottomans in order to make Morocco a vassal. Abd el-Malik asked Murad for help. Murad thought of Abd el-Malik as a treacherous vassal, as he had just recently learned of some sly deals he was attempting to make behind his back. However, the Ottomans did supply muskets and soldiers. The Portuguese king Sebastian suffered a severe defeat, and his attempt in Morocco was a complete failure. Abd el-Malik died in battle and was succeeded by his brother, Ahmad al-Mansur. In the beginning of his reign, Ahmad al-Mansur recognized the suzerainty of the Ottoman Sultan, Murad III, as his brother Abd el-Malik had done. Therefore, Ottoman suzerainty over Morocco was still present, as was the continued recitation of Murad's name in the khutbah as well as the coinage in his name. However, Ahmad grew tired of this treatment and declared his independence in 1582 and ended the suzerainty by removing Murad's name in the khutbah and coinage and replacing it with his own name. The Ottoman Sultan, Murad III, did not react well to this news. He began preparations to attack Morocco, but Ahmad al-Mansur learned of this quickly. Ahmad al-Mansur rushed to send an ambassador to Istanbul, and he paid a tribute of over 100,000 gold coins to the Ottomans. He also agreed to show full respect to Murad and maintained a tributary relationship with the Ottomans. Later on the same year, Murad forced Ahmad al-Mansur to recognize a special Ottoman protection over Morocco. He also forced him to pay tribute. Ahmad al-Mansur agreed to all of these requests so that the attacks on Morocco from Algerian corsairs would stop. Ahmad al-Mansur recognized the sovereignty of the Ottomans. However, he did play them against European powers. He was no longer Murad's tributary in 1587, and now he had some breathing room that the Ottomans were focused on their own wars. Ahmad began preparations to build his own empire. From 1591, Ahmad al-Mansur began his expansion. He sent Judar Pasha along with just under 5,000 men who were well equipped, against an army of over 20,000 Songhai soldiers. The Saadi Dynasty conquered Timbuktu and destroyed the Songhai Empire, resulting in an impressive expansion by Ahmad al-Mansur. He was even communicating with the British with the hopes of colonizing the Americas. And with this event that marks the end of the notable events of the Maghreb in the 16th century. Thanks for watching, and Salam Alaikum.